I'm Erica Lukes, host of UFO Classified. For me, life isn't simply black and white. Life is full of many unknowns. It is my goal to travel the world and to work with the world's leading experts in the hopes of making groundbreaking discoveries. Join me on UFO Classified Friday nights at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, only on KCOR.
No more plausible deniability. Fact, fiction, or the truth. You decide. And now, the new voice of the high desert, the hostess of UFO Classified, Erica Lukes.
Good afternoon, good evening, my friends. I'm Erica Lukes, and you know how much I love spending my Friday evenings with you when I get into chat and I see all of my friends from all over the world joining me here. It means the world to me. I say this every show because I truly mean this from the bottom of my heart. I'm here because of you and because I know that there are intelligent, thoughtful people out there that understand we are dealing with something truly incredible and it must be dealt with respect. And we are trying to do that, and I really appreciate you. I have had a lot of feedback over the past couple weeks since my interview with Chris Marks, my two-part interview. Chris worked for Bass and was up at Skinwalker Ranch for 6 years. I recently, last week, had the pleasure of accompanying him up to that area and was with him when he went back for the first time to each of these locations in the area to talk with people and to revisit some things. I also have an in-depth interview with him that will really blow the lid off a lot of things. And I will say I'm very proud of myself. This is, in my opinion, the most important interview that has ever been done on Skinwalker Ranch. So you will find out about that. I will be releasing that very shortly, and I will also be interviewing Chris a lot more with regard to some of these things because we're just peeling off layers. Of course, the trolls are out in their abounding glory because we're stirring up stuff, which is great. It's always fun to get in the YouTube, on my YouTube page, and to see some of these nameless trolls that like to hide behind their ridiculous names and whatnot and try to discredit people when they actually don't have a clue about what they're talking about, which is very evident. But, you've hit on something when this type of behavior takes place, and we have, and there is much, much more to come. So I look forward to sharing that with you in the next little bit. I will also be sharing with you for the first time interviews that I've conducted with a very special family, 3 generations that live very close to Skinwalker Ranch. I have spent over half a decade researching this area, collecting files, visiting the University of Utah Special Archives to spend a lot of time looking at Dr. Frank Salisbury's work. And so I know what I'm talking about, and I respect the people in this area, and I look forward to sharing the interviews with this family and much, much more. It's one thing if you come in and you're doing make a movie, come in, film it, and then drop a bomb and then go out. But there are consequences to that, and as Chris mentioned many times on both shows, when you go in and you create a level of fear and anxiety and paranoia, that isn't good for anybody, including the people on the property who are trying to do research. So there you have that. Much, much more will be coming out. And again, I look forward to having Chris back on the show and also releasing the video footage. But with that out of the way, I want to say that tonight is a very special show for me because I have my father sitting beside me, and I actually kind of hit him over the head with this last night.
Yeah, 10 o'clock at night.
About 10 o'clock at night. I figure after 9 o'clock, I'm good to go. Good to get the yes. So I...
Caught me on the way to bed.
Well, it worked. Clearly you're here.
Yeah.
Which is, this is fascinating. I feel that each person has a story, and for me, my journey is is so multi-layered, and I've been interested in this my whole life. And I didn't know my father. We were estranged as I was growing up, but then I began to get to know him, and the similarities between us, the journeys that we've both been on are absolutely incredible. And it is when we have connected and realized some of these things and the profound implications, I mean, it's really brought both of us to tears, because it is really stunning. And we'll talk a little bit about that tonight. But so about my father, our Geoffrey Blackburn. He is a world-renowned artist, and he has perfected a type of art that is taught in different schools, different universities all over the world. It's called multidimensionalism. He wins awards left and right all over the world. And
point of correction.
Oh, point of correction. Here we go.
Okay.
It's the dad thing.
Well, no. I just don't want to. Oh, okay. Well, multidimensional, I don't believe it is taught anywhere.
Actually, I had somebody that told me it was taught at the University of Utah.
Oh, it is? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Well, that's news to me. All right. Okay. Well, good.
So you've been corrected.
All right. Well, rock on till death. If anybody wants to know what it actually is, feel free to call me, and I'll tell them. I'll set them straight on it.
Yeah. No. It is. It's amazing. My father, he spends hundreds and hundreds of hours on his paintings, and when they sell, they go for upwards of $60,000, and his paintings have hung in the White House. And he's a very beautiful, moving art. So as somebody who just came out 5 years ago, grabbed my first paintbrush and decided I was going to go to town to have a relationship with him that gets deeper all the time, and we can connect on art and different ideas on things. It's been really it's so cool. And Dad, your bio is amazing, but I'm just going to let you kind of, talk us through.
Talk you through what?
Talk you through your life.
Okay.
5 words.
Oh, geez. 5 words, huh?
Well, okay, maybe 10.
All right. Pretty bloody amazing. Pretty bloody amazing? Okay, how's that? It's been amazing. It's been, I've pretty much done almost what I wanted to do most of my life, and it's sort of like, let's see how to put this. Most people, when they get up in the morning, they have a path already carved out for them. They get up in the morning, they know they got to be at X at what such and such a time, and then they go do Y and Z, which is basically work on somebody else's dream most of the day, and then for doing that, they get whatever they get at the end of the day and at the end of their lives, and they can look back on that and they can go, that's my life. And I realized early on in the program that I didn't want any part of that program at all. And so I just decided I was just going to invent it as I went along, which is pretty much what I've done. I've invented pretty much what I've done my whole life. Well, you are you do break a lot of ground, and you live on the edge, and clearly that's where I get my love of living on the edge. It's kind of over the edge most of the time. Well, over the edge is probably a good point. But you, when did you first start your love? I mean, when did you first start painting? And because I know that you won awards for poetry and different things early on, but tell us about the first. Okay, the first award for painting was in, I guess, 1956. Oh God, I'm old. Anyway, it was at San Juan Capistrano, the famous old mission. And actually, I was given the award at the old mission in the old chapel. Now I'm not even sure you can go in there anymore. But anyway, it was I won a gold medal and a blue ribbon. Best in the show. Anyway, I was in the 3rd grade. I did a pencil drawing of a church out in the snow, and anyway, it was kind of a big deal. Anyway, I was 7 or 8 or whatever, however old you are when you're in the 3rd grade. That was my first. That was my first art award. Back then, I was. They just opened up Disneyland. I think we went the 3rd or 4th week that they were open, and I was obsessed with Captain Nemo and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Why can I believe that? I thought that was just so incredibly cool. And so one of the things that they had at the new Disneyland, a brand new, newly opened Disneyland, was the original set from that movie, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And anyway, so that was my favorite ride. That's the one and only thing I remember from the whole opening of Disneyland was the really cool set of 20,000 Leagues. Anyway, so from then on, for a couple of years or more after that, I was doing all these pictures, all these drawings, and crayon drawings and watercolor paintings of giant squids attacking the Nautilus and guys walking on the bottom of the ocean. And my mom used to drop me off at the beach every day. Now, my parents would have been in jail a long time ago for the way they handled parenting back in the day. But they used to drop me off at. My mom used to drop me off at 9:30 or so in the morning, or 9 o'clock in the morning in the summer, and leave me until about 4:30 or 5 in the afternoon.
Wow!
I'd be wandering the beach. I was like 7 or 8, 9. I'd spend the whole days wandering the beach, and I taught myself how to body surf and how to be wandering the tides. And body surfing is a trip, by the way, especially when you're 7. Anyway, you learn pretty quickly. Either you drown and you wash up on the beach, or
the life lessons.
Oh yeah. So anyway, I learned a lot of cool stuff. Anyway, so so I got totally involved in undersea stuff. I was fascinated with anything under the sea. I wanted to be a marine biologist and an artist that did paintings of stuff under the sea. That's what I was going to do.
And wasn't it about the same time frame that you had a fascination for space?
Actually, that started earlier. That started, amazingly enough, that started in probably about 1949, 1950. God, am I old.
Well, quit saying that, because then people might think I'm old too.
Okay, then you're not.
Well,
never mind. We're moving forward on the time track. Mm-hmm. Actually, it was watching one of the earliest TVs that was manufactured, a little black and white TV. I was watching the old Buster Crab. What were they? Flash Gordon. That's all they had on the TVs in those days, and they'd run TV for about 4 or 5 hours, and they'd turn it off, and then you'd watch the test pattern if you wanted to watch TV. Listen to the whistle or the sound of the test pattern, that came with the test pattern. But I was watching Buster Crab doing Flash Gordon and Ming the Merciless and Dale and all that sort of cool stuff. That's what got me all spiffed up about going out in space, and then I'd go out and spend hours looking up at the sky and wondering what was up there, and is there anybody up there? Is Ming the Merciless up there?
Well, I guess that's better than the tall whites. I don't know, maybe.
It could be.
Who knows? So, you had this fascination. Did you ever have anything paranormal happen when you were a child? Out of the ordinary?
That's an interesting question. My whole childhood was out of the ordinary.
It's clearly.
Yeah, the whole thing was, looking back on it, the whole thing was just strange. Really pretty cool. Looking back on it, I wouldn't change much of it. I had great parents, just super parents. I don't remember any blinding, flashing, strange... Well,
yep.
Some things that happened. I think strange things started really happening in high school. That's when I started to open. When I realized that. Well, here it is. Here's the essence of it right here. Okay, when we're born, we are. Our default setting is just say FM 100. That's our awareness setting. So if you're attuned to FM 100, that's your standard across the board, your awareness setting for all of your senses. FM 100, just hypothetically. Okay, so that's your factory default settings. You come out of your mom and you're FM 100, and that's it. Most people go through life and that's it. FM 100 from birth to death.
That's so scary.
Very
for
boring.
Jimmy Swaggart.
Yeah, very, very boring kind of, life, birth to death, and good God spare me from that. Anyway, he did. Thank you very much. Or she did. Anyway, or they did, or whatever. And anyway, so, so I decided there's just no possible way I want any part of that whole thing. So I was just decided I was going to create it as I went. And that's exactly what I did. I started creating it as I went. It was a conscious decision to do that. I'm going to just do what I do when I do it. And I did, and I have. And I've just been creating it ever since. But the difference is when you wake up, I started this point earlier, when you wake up in the morning and you've got a path already laid out in front of you. You don't have to think. You can be a vegetable. You can basically get on the treadmill and you can walk from A to B. And at the end of that whole process, you get X size house and X size car and X number of children and X number of dogs and whatever. And this is your life. And then you're laying there on your deathbed and you're looking back on it and you're thinking, did I enjoy that? Was it good for me?
Right.
Right. You
right.
have the big cigarette, and was it good for me? I don't know. It didn't seem like a very appealing program for me. So it seemed to me I'd rather invent it as I go.
Right.
Right. Problem with that is then you get up in the morning, and your eyes open up, and you go, Am I going to go up? Am I going to go down? Am I going to go right? Am I going to go left? What's more important than this? This or that? It's like all this stuff opens up. It's like suddenly you're out in deep space, and you could go in any direction, up or down, and right or left, and nobody's going to tell you can't, except gravity and your finances, and that's it. And so you're not just only breaking trail. It's not like you're on a three-dimensional surface and you're breaking trail. It's like I'm going from A to B and I'm breaking trail through the oak brush. No, you're out in deep space and you're inventing where it is you're going. And so that became the challenge, is inventing where you're going and then prioritizing the invention and then going there and looking over the canyon going, what did I learn there? Did I learn anything, or did you just get smacked in the face and shoot 2 toes off?
It typically tends to happen when you're that kind of person that leaps before thinking about the consequences, but it works. I mean, that's what an artist, that's what somebody who has a creative soul does, and most of the time it works out.
Well, sometimes it does. A lot of times you lose toes.
Okay, well, luckily mine are still intact. So that's good, but I mean, life is, you've got these extreme highs and lows, but it's like I would rather have the extremes than live in a box and go to work every day and drive a Suburban and talk about soccer and I mean, it's just like, it's
absolutely
just so not me. But
yeah, well, of course, it's not the nature.
Freaking genetics.
Yeah, well,
I know.
You have to do what you have to do.
I'm telling you.
It's finding your well, I talk about this in this video that I did. It's finding your magnetic north. It's like everybody has a pull. Everybody has, actually, you've got your factory default settings, but you also have your own personal essence. And, the essence, which is you. And I call it your magnetic north. And everybody's got it, but most people, it's beaten down to next to nothing, and most people turn it off, and it's just a faint pulse. And it's particularly bad now because everybody's talking to their hand. In fact, I saw something the other day I'm actually thinking of doing a whole figurative series of paintings. I may do this at some point. But I saw this guy walking across this 7th East, this really busy street. I mean, really high traffic thing, and then there's the trolley crossing there, or the train crossing, and this big hulking guy was walking across the street, completely oblivious. All these cars, it's like 4 lanes of traffic stop, and this guy's walking across the street, didn't even look up. He's just staring at his hand, communing with the mothership, looking at his hand as he goes across the street. Never looks up. And I thought, my God, this guy.
Definitely not communing with the mothership then.
Well, whatever he's talking to the hand, or the hand's talking to him, and he's talking to his phone. And it's like he's talking. It's like it's the damn dumbest thing I ever saw.
Dear.
And then I'm looking at pictures of these guys. The other thing that just cracks me up is I'm looking at these pictures of these intrepid souls going up to Mount Everest. I mean, the most hilarious picture I've ever seen was that line of people, that big long conga line going up to the top of Mount Everest. Have you seen that?
Yep.
God, that looked like a checkout line at Walmart. And I thought, boy, does that ever take the buzz off of, talk about a buzzkill for all those guys that risk their lives to go up there.
Absolutely. And so, I mean, we're getting ready to go to break, and I want to, before we go to break, I want to bring up the subject of you, and you being in the military.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And also Dugway.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, that was a fun conversation.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. I'm glad you. been there, done that. Yes.
So I when I was first born, right after I was first born, I actually did live at Dugway Proving Grounds, which
yes, you did.
It could explain a
it
great
explains
deal.
Everything.
Absolutely.
It was the radiation and it's all the, God only knows what, and thus you are what you are.
Oh, wow.
And there you are.
Well, I could have been, from what I have been told from people, I was clearly a product of MK Ultra.
Whatever that is.
Exactly.
That sounds like a shampoo from the 60s.
Well, it probably was. But just tell us a little bit about that background.
Well, I was in the military for 3 years, active duty, and that was a very interesting period. It was during the 60s, 66 through 69, and that was probably changed me more than anything in my life. That was really a profound experience. It was it was not a pleasant experience for the most part, but a lot of it was. I wouldn't trade a moment of it. It was horrible. A lot of it was horrible, but I wouldn't trade a moment of it. I learned stuff about myself that you would not learn had you not gone through that experience, and I learned stuff about other people that was just fantastic. The coolest thing about it, one of the coolest things about it, I was there in the deep, deep South during the 70s, right when all that horrible racial crap was going on, all that burning and, blowing up stuff. And I was right there in Louisiana, right there in the middle of it, right with all these guys, right when history was being made. And, man, you could cut the tension in the barracks with a knife. It was just horrible. But one thing you found out when you go up the ranks and you become like an officer and all that, you realize that every one of those guys, every single one of those guys, every one of them was, like your, I don't know, you'd have crawled through the barbed wire for any one of them, every one of them. Every one of them you hoped they would have done the same thing for you, but every one of them was, your guy. And what it does, the whole thing, it's the way the military works. You don't understand it at the time. You hate the SOBs that do it to you. But later on, if you get any perspective and you think about it, you realize what they're doing to you. They strip away your identity, and then they make you part of this. They fuse you together in this unholy alliance where they take people from all these different backgrounds, and they put you together in these just unholy experiences. And then you have to rely on each other. People that would normally never talk to each other are suddenly relying on each other for survival. And then all of a sudden you find yourselves friends with people you never even would have talked to before. And the next thing you know, you're bonded and you become something bigger than yourselves. And it's just the most amazing thing. And then I realized this is really what happens when, the great melting pot, that's melting under great pressure.
Right. And we've got to take a break. We've got 1 minute to break. I want to ask you if maybe you heard any rumblings about UFO sightings out of the base. You can answer that after. I'll let you just think about that one for a minute and grab a drink of water. I'm Erica Lukes, here with my father, our Geoffrey Blackburn, who is an internationally renowned artist. And so I encourage you to go on his site. I will make sure to put all of those links up. This is a very kind of a candid look into my life and the people that my father. So anyway, we will be right back.
Stand by. This is UFO Classified with Erica Lukes. Erica Lukes. The phone lines are open now at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. More UFO Classified. UFO Classified with Erica Lukes on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. After this.
Toxins are everywhere, from the air we breathe to the food we eat and the water we drink. In a world where 80,000 known toxins and heavy metals threaten our very existence, how are you going to protect yourself and your loved ones? Introducing Pure Body Extra Strength, the world's first colloidal zeolite that helps trap and remove toxins as well as heavy metals from your body that are messing with your memory, clarity, sleep, and focus. Don't just take our word for it or the testimonials from our thousands of happy customers. Check out the hundreds of articles and case studies on the National Institute of Health website proving zeolite's powerful ability to remove toxins. For a limited time, listeners to KCOR will receive 10% off their first order. To get started, go to trypurebody.com and enter promo code code radio10. Again, that's trypurebody.com. Toxic junk is all around us, but now you can take back control of your health and protect yourself by detoxing with Pure Body Extra Strength. You'll be on your way to sleeping better, thinking more clearly, and feeling more energetic. Go to trypurebody.com right now and get started today.
Now, broadcasting in digital HD radio.
In the shadows, a voice cries out. Evidence that you're not alone.
You said my name. What is your name?
Proof that the living and the dead coexist. Or do they? Every Wednesday night, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, join writer, producer, and paranormal investigator Greg Bakken on Ghost Box Radio as he explores, interviews, and investigates evidence alongside some of the best in the paranormal community and beyond.
6 people killed. Ghost
Box Radio, Wednesday nights exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network, because the dead don't sleep. Ghost Box Radio.
We interrupt to bring you this.
Would you like to advertise on KCOR Digital Radio Network?
This is what I'm talking about.
At a fraction of the cost of traditional radio advertising, why not?
Tell them the good news.
Whether you need to promote your next book, product, or service, we can customize a package for just about any budget.
Finally, there is hope for the hopeless.
Why limit yourself to a tiny local market when KCOR can brand you to the world?
Here's all you do.
Visit KCORradio.com or contact our sales department by email at saleskcorradio.com.
We want it now!
See the difference with us by letting us work for you.
This ain't reality TV!
The KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Now you ready to go?
Turn your radio.
It's showtime!
Here we go, world.
You're listening to the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Bring this up.
Broadcasting from the heart of Las Vegas, Nevada.
Their base is so large it has to draw most of its power from the nearby nuclear fusion plant.
The future of radio is here and now.
You're listening to UFO Classified with Erica Lukes, where the truth isn't hidden beneath the black lines of a Sharpie.
That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
To be on with Erica, call 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio.
Radio contact.
Share your thoughts on the show on Twitter by using hashtag KCOR. Or head over to the live chats at KCORradio.com.
The audience goes nuts.
And now, your host of UFO Classified.
Are you ready?
Erica Lukes.
Erica Lukes.
Welcome back and happy Fantopia Friday. Thanks for listening to KCOR, and thank you, all of my friends, for getting into to chat Northern UFOs. You have been such a huge supporter of mine. I can't thank you enough. My show is a listener-supported show, and so I value people who want to support the show because it's incredibly difficult as a single mother and a small business owner to do that. But for me, this is the most important thing next to having a child that I will do in my life. I truly believe that we need good information out there. And I can tell you that having been in the trenches in ufology, that there really aren't a lot of people that are going to give you good information because they're so busy, just stroking their egos and making films and then leading people to Area 51 so they can storm the gates and promote really dangerous things. And I just want to say again, I've spent the past couple of weeks looking at this Area 51 nonsense, and I just think it shines a light on the people who are promoting this to perhaps get interest in their activities and things, and it's really another example of why ufology should be blown up and why we should look outside of that for the answers. If anybody is listening that is planning on going to Area 51, then I would just say maybe turn my show off now because I'm clearly not for you. On that note, I wanted to also tell you that I am just working on my website, ericalukes.com. I will be selling my art and I've got some really cool new things that are going to be out there. And so go to ericalukes.com. I'll be working on it, as well as putting up all of my video interviews that I've done over the years and have not put out there. One of those interviews will be with Chris Marks, and that will be really groundbreaking. Looking forward to that. I am here right now with my father, our Geoffrey Blackburn, and he is a world-renowned artist and has pioneered several different things. And as I mentioned on the first part of the program, I was estranged from him growing up, but we established a relationship and have really had some very trippy and unique experiences. And there was a moment in our relationship, and I just wanted to talk about this really quickly, but I had invited him over here. This was about 1.5 years ago. And I had found a box of school papers from grade school that my grandmother had kept. She liked to keep all of my paperwork. And there was a drawing. Of course, 3rd grade Erica, this is where my mind goes, but it was an alien. And it was zapping a little ant on the ground, and there was a spaceship above it. And remarkably enough, if any of you know Carl Higdon, who was an abductee back in the 70s, early 70s, this resembled the Carl Higdon alien, the depiction. And there wasn't a lot out about that in the news at the time, so it was interesting I chose to draw that. But my dad, I had shown him that, and my dad was talking about the multiverse and some of the ideas and things that he had come up with. And I put, I had my picture, my drawing on the table. He put his drawing on the table, and I stepped back and I looked at it, and it was absolutely insane because every single thing that I had drawn in my photo, he had just put on paper, circles, lines, everything. And so we just took a moment and looked at those pictures back to back, and it was really quite a staggering moment.
Needed Twilight Zone music to go with it. Right?
I clearly, but that you have to admit that was
it was a moment for sure.
Yeah, that was absolutely something, and I think it to me it was I don't even know. I don't know how to put that in words, and I think we were both so taken by the moment that we were very emotional about that. So
there's some pretty amazing stuff happening, isn't there? I mean, it's just so much more than what you can see with your meat eyeballs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what I'm looking at.
And so, you were at Dugway. Did you hear, and you probably weren't, this wasn't your daily choice of things, but was there any talk of UFOs or strange lights or anything at the base at the time?
No, just strange living conditions. And actually, so we don't over-glamorize anything I did there. I was in charge of something that had nothing to do with anything that was serious. I was in charge of the headquarters company, and it was just we had the people that did all the stuff, did all of the the functions there around the base. So we didn't do anything scary and anything that requires a musical restraint or background music to discuss. I mean, it's just kind of ordinary kind of stuff. So that was nothing too exciting happening there. And no, I didn't hear anything there about UFOs, but other stuff. Heard a lot of other stuff, a lot of scuttlebutt in other areas. A lot of people were talking about it at the time. Everybody was talking about it, that kind of stuff at the time. So you were born in a very strange time. UFOs and extraterrestrial stuff and psychic stuff. The government was studying that big time, really looking into that. They had all kinds of programs in the universities where psychics were trying to, levitate this and do this and that. The government, our government, other governments were, working with this and that. A lot of the psychedelics were developed by the military. And, it's just a lot of strange stuff was going on. And it's just, another front to be explored, another thing to learn about. Right. So everybody was looking into it. And, in my generation, the flower power children, brain dead nitwits that we are, went out there, hanging and out there looking, and I'm always liking to be the pointy end of the spear. I'm out there, at the pointy end of the spear with it. So I went out there with a lot of my friends and looked at a lot of interesting things for a long period of time.
Can you give us a little more detail on that?
Not too much, but not too much. No, some. I'm sorry to be. I'm sorry. That's sorry.
Usually, I can break my guess and get the.
Well, yeah, but some of it's so strange. The thing to know is, I guess, if anything, is okay. Just think of it this way. This is the thing to know. This is the takeaway. Okay, your mind is like a gigantic tuner. And like we started talking about the FM 100 deal. Okay, so some people have certain things happen to them that will cause their tuner to slip from FM 100, and all of a sudden they see more of the dial. So if you're looking at an old analog dial, and all of a sudden you're going, woo, so some people can't handle that, and they end up in loony bins, so people think they're crazy. And, they're not dialed into FM 100 anymore, so their perception of reality doesn't look quite right. And so if they can't, go this way or that way. They can't dial back into FM 100. They're not talking in the same wavelength you are. So, they're strange and, put the pointy hat on them, put them in the rubber room. But, other people, mystics and so forth, can learn how to tune their mind and go slide in and out of this. It's like it's a tuning thing. It's you can make your mind tune to different things. Mystics and others that have spent a lot of time learning how to tune their mind or move their mind this way and that. It's just a matter of shifting your viewpoint around. And it's really, really brain dead simple, but it's difficult. So to prove how simple it is, just imagine this. Imagine a ball in front of you, like a silver ball. Imagine just holding that ball in front of yourself. In front of your body for like just a minute and see if you can hold that ball there and see how long your mind can keep that in place without your wandering off. It's really difficult to do. It sounds simple, but it isn't simple. It's difficult to do.
Right.
Okay, so it's like a discipline. It's like your mind is like a muscle. So you learn how to flex it and use it. So you do a thing. I'm coining a term. Imaginate. You're imaginating stuff. So what do I mean by that? Imaginate. It's like it's focused imagining. You're creating an image in your mind, and then you're learning how to focus that and create it, and then you follow the steps. This is all the stuff that's in my book. You're talking about how you focus the steps and create that, what you're imagining, and you're creating it into physical reality. And everybody does it all the time. It doesn't make any difference if you're painting a picture, you're making a souffle, you're coming up with a multi-million-dollar merger, you're doing a sculpture, or you're contemplating attacking a machine gun nest. What you're trying to do is you're sitting there, whoever you are that's doing the creation, you're sitting there trying to imagine the situation you're in. You're trying to imagine a different reality than the one that you're currently in. You're trying to imagine creating some kind of an effect in reality. And so you're in one reality and you're trying to imagine another reality. And so now you're looking at, what do I have to do to make the physical universe conform to that in some way or other? And so now you go through these various steps to try to bring that into fruition. That's the subject of my book. I talk about the creation process. Not the creative process, that's a different thing. The creation process. It's a systematic way that we go about it. And everybody does it all the time, but everybody's pretty much oblivious to it. It's spiritual, it's metaphysical, it's non-physical, it's all of that stuff. It spans all these universes and dimensions. That's what's so bloody cool about it. So you talk about life on other planets. I'm looking at life in other dimensions. That might sound, tinfoil hatty, but it's like if you're looking at quantum mechanics, the way they postulate that is like, there's parallel universes with parallel us's in them, right? And so that's pretty exciting stuff when you think about it, what the implications of that are. So, it's really exciting times to live. And also, I might tip my hat to the Chinese who said, famously a long, long time ago, "May you live in interesting times." That was, I believe, a curse. And we do.
Yes, we do. And have to, because again, we're getting ready to go to break in the next few minutes. But Chris O'Brien, who is my friend, my colleague, has been on the show many, many times. But he is listening, and he's wondering, you were obviously at Dugway about the time of the Dugway, the sheep incident.
I was there. I got there 6 months after that whole thing was done. And there's, the newspaper was full of it. They were talking. That's all everybody was talking about here in the Salt Lake Valley. And needless to say, everybody hushed everything up. And actually I didn't end up at Dugway. I ended up at a different branch in Utah 6 months after, and I didn't end up at Dugway until probably 6 months after that. So everything was buttoned up, and the bodies were buried, and and all the usual stuff that happens.
Yep.
So I don't. Yeah, that stuff's nasty stuff. I can tell you that. That's pretty nasty stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is. And
that stuff, by the way, was developed, as I understand it, was developed by the Germans in World War II. So I don't know what was being done and why it was being done or anything. I know nothing at all about it other than what you know about it. But
right.
It's just Murphy lives and Murphy kills sheep. Sometimes it looks like.
Yes, it does. And we are just here in Salt Lake, 80 miles away, and yes, they're still doing open air testing, but that's another story. And what do you do?
I don't know that it was. I don't know if it was tested or I know nothing about what was going on out there testing wise. I know there's just a whole where I was allowed to be was, and where I was there's a where the people were living, which is like one separate part of the post, and then there's where all of the the James Bondian sort of stuff goes on. That's another part of the post, and I never went there, so I know nothing.
That's comforting.
Yes. So this was, and I was there in the '60s, so things have changed. Things have changed. A lot of things have changed. So I know nothing. I'm assuming I'm going to invoke the Sergeant Schultz defense here.
Okay, go with that. That's good. Yeah. But okay, so you did, and when you were, you have to say that you were a uranium miner.
No, I owned a mining and exploration company, and we never did any actual mining. What we did is we explored. We owned a drill rig, and my partner was a former crew chief on B-52, so the guy could fix anything at 600 knots and 20,000 feet with a nuclear bomb between his legs, and which was pretty damn handy. And so we drilled all over the place, and by the way, a very environmentally sensitive way, I might add. And that's another story for another time. But so we promoted properties. What I did is I had all these uranium miners coming to me, and I'd package up their claims for them. And then I had the state, and then I had these big corporations coming to me too, because they couldn't deal with the uranium miners because a lot of them were kind of crazy and weird and cranky. And so I was kind of in the middle. So at the end, I was putting together all these humongous uranium packages of claims, and had 163,000 acres we controlled at one point. And it was just kind of a heady thing for 20, 30 something, whatever it was I was back in the day.
But when you were out there, and you spent a lot of time out in the desert.
Yeah, I lived out there in a little trailer out there on the top of a cliff.
And so, and your art in that period, I mean, I think that would be fun to have a show and to get some of that out there. But, I mean, you were out there in the middle of nowhere. Did you see anything interesting?
It's hard to say. You see so many things in the desert at night. You don't know what the heck you're seeing. If you're seeing, it's a shooting star, or you're seeing a meteor shower, or you're seeing whatever you're seeing. I saw so many strange things at night out there. I really don't know. I didn't see anything land and pick up any sheep, or, I didn't see, E.T. didn't come and get me. I'm sorry to say, it's part of my trying to contact him, mentally, come get me. Beam me up, Scotty. I'm tired of this operation. But what it did do is it caused me to my mind was wandering out there in deep space all the time, and so that influenced me to do those uranium mining paintings that are in the middle of that cluster of pictures on my website there. Mm-hmm. That was stimulated by that, because I'd sit there and speculate. I thought, any time an alien invasion could land and it would look completely in character with the surroundings I'm in. That's what triggered all that, just living out there in the middle of that, in the middle of the night, wandering out there in the terrain and sitting there and looking at that humongous sky with that desert background. And, I'm just living in the middle of this, night after night for, month after month, year after year. It was wonderful. It was amazing. And then getting up in the morning, going out and drilling and standing there and getting a suntan.
And so, let's get back to the strange things that you might have seen.
Well,
I'm not that I'm trying to lead you down a road.
You see lights and you think, well, what is it? Is it? You don't know. It's just all I can do is speculate. It's like, okay, I saw a light over here, and I saw, a flash over there. So is it the government? Is it a meteor? Is it a meteor impacting the desert? Because stuff like that happens out there, and you're looking at such a big horizon, you don't know what you're looking at. So all you can do is speculate. So I know what I'd like to believe. I know what I want to believe. I know what sometimes what I feel like I'm tuning into stuff. I feel like I can take one step to the left or one step to the right mentally, and I can tune myself to a different reality, and I do. I know that sounds kind of bonkers, but
no, I don't think so
you can actually you can kind of do that, and it's pretty amazing. But FM 100 prevails in this universe. So,
but you're clearly not listening to that channel. Praise the Lord for that one. But
I have to dial in every now and then.
Yeah, I guess true.
ET dial home.
Yeah, that's great. That's fabulous.
Right.
So you're throughout in the desert. You're clearly interested in in pushing the boundaries, and you're tuning your dial away from FM 100. Did you have any experiences? What happened once you did that? And I'm not saying it's definitively extraterrestrial or...
Okay, well, let's see. Oh, God, I feel like I'm being psychoanalyzed here. Okay. Shall I lie down on the couch here?
Well...
Okay. Well, never mind. There's a dog here on it.
Yeah, that's...
We'll forget that. That's all right.
Oh, Lordy.
Yes. Okay, well, I tell you what was on my mind, so there you are. There you have it.
That's true.
So, okay, before I continue, I have to invoke here that I'm invoking my divine right as an artist to be eccentric. So you're hearing eccentric right here, right
Absolutely.
now. And I'm also invoking my divine right as a geezer to be eccentric. So I get the double.
Oh, you're playing the old card.
Exactly. So I can say what the hell I want. So
all right. Well,
anybody that offends, you're going to have to just suck it up.
That's okay.
Right.
I'm invoking. This is I'm
serious invoking. You're not old enough. You got to wait for another 20 years.
Lie to me, Dad, and lie to the public.
Huh?
Lie to me and the public.
Well, you're significantly younger than me.
That's comforting. That's good.
Yeah, I rather think it is too. It'd be kind of weird if it wasn't.
That's true. Wow.
Course,
again, genetics.
Yeah, well, of course, that could be in another dimension too. It could be maybe it's in the entanglement. Maybe with entanglement here on the other side of in the other dimension. You're my mother or something. I don't know. That could be. Ooh, that could be weird. Huh?
That's so weird. So you're taking a step to the left.
Okay, so
you're in the desert.
Yeah, well, so when I'm laying there, I'll go out there and lay on the hood of the Jeep or lay on the hood of the drill rig or something sometimes out there, and I'm just laying there looking up at the stars and just being there, and I'll expand my mind, and this is what I do now. I'm thinking about it. I'm remembering this. And I'll expand my mind to fill everything that I can vision, I can see. Which is huge, obviously, because it's horizon to horizon. And I'll go into that or go out of that. To me, it's like going into that. And then I feel like you feel like you can sense things. You feel like there's things out there that are, to be sensed. I mean, it's like there's more to this universe than like I said, your meat eyeballs can see.
Right.
And we're physicists and various other scientists of different stripes are coming up with all different kinds of ways of looking at that now.
So when you're sensing things, how do you sense them?
Well, how do you see? I mean, it's like it. I don't know. It's sort of. I don't know. How do you hear? I mean, you can explain mechanically. You can say, okay, I hear because little hairs in my ears vibrate.
Right, but I mean, because some people sense things around them differently. I mean, is this something that you're smelling? Is it something that you're tasting? Is it something that you're feeling? I mean, what?
Sometimes it can be all of that. I mean, it's like you can kind of turn your perceptions on, different perceptions. You can turn it off and on like switches. It's like what you put your attention on. It's like Niels Bohr, the physicist, was talking about. I think I'm probably horribly mangling this and probably misunderstanding this, but the act of observing a particle or particles changes the behavior of the particles. So here you are, you're observing, right? So you're changing whatever you're observing. So, so by going out there and filling up the universe with myself, as it were, I'm observing the whole thing and I'm changing it in a sense. It's coming back to me and I'm going out to it and I'm changing it. It's kind of it's a strange thing, but you can actually get your head around that. It's actually possible to do that. And I used to experiment with stuff like that. I mean, obviously that's not probably normal behavior from, but I mean, it's just like, you're out there in the desert in the middle of the night and I've been out drilling all day and, I'm been breathing uranium dust, so I'm crazed and I glow in the dark now. So
it's really a good start to.
Yeah, and I'm an artist, so I'm genetically weird already.
Good point.
Yeah, so I mean, I've got little choice but to act in a bizarre and strange manner.
And so we're going to talk about that strange manner, and then the glow in the dark, and all of that good stuff. I'm Erica Lukes here with my father, R. Geoffrey Blackburn. Stick around. The best is yet to come. Libertas, that was just for you. We'll be right back.
Listen very carefully.
This is Houston. Say again, please. Houston, we've had a problem.
This is UFO Classified, live every Friday night, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The truth is out there, just waiting to be discovered.
And now, if you will, accompany me on a journey to the future.
For more information on the host of UFO Classified, Erica Lukes, upcoming guests, as well as links to the past shows,
visit her website at ufoclassified.com.
UFO Classified.
UFO Classified. UFO Classified.
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51.
Wait, that doesn't exist.
This is the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Now for the news. KCOR Las Vegas.
All the time.
Of course I listen.
I listen all day. It's the best music.
KCOR, the new underground source for news, talk, and music at KCORradio.com. Tell your friends, email them, or Facebook them, or Twitter them.
Hey, are we done here? Because I'm losing my buzz.
The disc landed at a ranch at Corona, New Mexico, and the rancher turned it over to the Air Force. Rancher W.W. Brazell was the man who discovered the saucer.
What I thought was a star began coming in my direction at a very rapid rate of speed.
The unidentified object, which some sources thought might be a blimp, moved slowly down the Pacific coast from Santa Monica and disappeared south of Long Beach.
I saw a UFO, and it went down the river, turned right at the United Nations, turned left, and then down the river.
UFO Classified.
UFO Classified.
No more plausible deniability. Fact, fiction, or the truth. You decide. And now, the new voice of the high desert, the hostess of UFO Classified, Erica Lukes.
Welcome back to the second half of UFO Classified. Again, I'm always grateful to be here. I want to say, Tina Marie, is the best station owner. I've loved working on this network, and I'm really proud to have her as you know, my producer, and she is a saint, and she could tell you stories. In fact, maybe one of these days coming up soon, I'll interview Tina, have her on my show, and she could tell you some really fascinating stories about working with me behind the scenes. It's never a dull moment, but I love KCOR, and I love everyone on the network, and it's just a real honor to be on a network that is so professionally run. That means the world to me, and we don't find that a lot in this field. So thank you. I also want to thank all of my listeners who are sending me messages from all over the world. You're finding me. I'm on a couple different TV shows right now, one on the Travel Channel, UFOs, The Lost Evidence. I just got the news from the producers that we are it looks like season 3 is going to happen. So that will be great. And then also I've got a couple other things in the works, which is amazing. And I'm excited to get all of my interviews edited and finally out there. One that I keep mentioning, which will be a real bomb, is the interview with Chris Marks. So you can look for that, and I'll be giving you little teasers about what was in that, but it really is pretty remarkable. So you can go to UFOclassified.com or ericalukes.com, which I am currently working on, and I'm also selling some of my art and photography there, which is really, really cool. My dad's been helping me with that. He's quite proud of my Alien series.
We have to clean up your framing.
Okay. Well, it's all right. We'll work on that. But anyway, needless to say, you can go there, and it is very cool. So my father is a world-renowned artist. He wins awards in realism all the time. He's featured in many different books, and I was telling him at the beginning of the show that actually I knew an artist that studied at the University of Utah, and they specifically did a course about his style of work and the fact that he's really developed something that is unique. If you look at his paintings, you think you're looking at a photograph, because there's so many layers to that, and you just can stand and stare at an inch of the painting, and he spends, how many hours do you spend on an inch?
It depends on the painting. One painting, painting before last, I spent almost 1,700 hours on it, on the painting itself. So I'll spend 20, 30, 40 hours looking in an area about the size of a mouth. So me and your local oral surgeon and your dentist have a lot in common.
Well,
except he gets paid better.
Yes, I don't know, but you have had. I've seen the picture of you standing next to Ronald Reagan. You have received a lot of praise for your work. One of your paintings was actually in Murder, She Wrote with Angela Lansbury. I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember that. I certainly remember that series and things, but it's very cool, and you choose not to necessarily show your paintings, even though you've been asked by different galleries around the world, because you don't want the wear and tear on your works, because you spend so much time on them, and I totally get that. But anyway, I digress. But I want to get back to, because you were talking about the days when you were out in the desert and you were sitting on the hood of your car looking up into the great unknown, and you decided that you could perhaps step a little left of the dial of FM 100. And so give us a little hint about how that happened, or how you put yourself into that mindset and what happened when you did.
It's really not that difficult. You just, in fact, anybody can do it. You can do it. The people that are listening to this broadcast can do it. You just have to relax and just imagine yourself. You just have to relax and imagine yourself there. You just, you're where you are, and just imagine yourself just slightly out of phase with where you are, and just kind of be there. I don't know. You just have to play with it. I spent a lot of time looking at that and experimenting with it. It probably sounds like it too.
So
wind chimes going through my ears. I mean, you hear that as the wind whistling through one ear, not the other.
So I mean, but what did you study occult practices? I mean, what were you looking at to help you develop that?
I just knew a bunch of people back in the 70s that were. I had some friends that were. I had one friend that was a nuclear engineer, and another friend that's a world famous geologist, and just all these different friends that I had that were just all looking into all these different things, and it was just all it was back in the time, back in the 70s. Everybody was looking into all this stuff, and so. We just spent a lot of time, and my mining partner, we had nothing to do. We'd be bouncing around in a truck all day long for hours and hours, out looking at, whatever, out in the middle of nowhere. And so we'd have these just intense conversations where we'd be, talking about the cosmos and different dimensions and this and that. We just, why most people are sitting in cubicles somewhere, I'm sitting out there and out in the middle of the desert, bouncing around, having these incredible philosophical conversations with the former crew chief on a B-52, who was my partner. And this guy, he's absolutely brilliant. This guy can build anything and make anything work. And so we'd have these amazing conversations, and we do this at night in this little tiny dinky ass trailer that we were living in at 8,500 feet at the top of Castle Valley, which is one of the most beautiful places on earth. We had a little tiny trailer we lived in. And we get up in the morning, we go out and drill our property. And it was, and I'd be sitting up on top of the drill tower, and I'd be looking out over Castle Valley. I mean, Castle Valley is one of the most beautiful places in the world. And there we were every day and all night. And it was just amazing. The place was just amazing. And then we were all over the Colorado Plateau doing that kind of stuff. And we'd see lights, and we'd see this flying over, that flying over, and you didn't know what you were seeing exactly. And
could you specify the behavior of those lights flying over?
Oh, God. I don't know.
Oh, come on now.
I don't know.
Okay. Well.
It's been so long. It's just like, you see all kinds of stuff. I've seen lights that kind of flash over. They're kind of blue and they kind of fade. And then I've seen, I don't know, just stuff.
Just stuff.
Yeah, just stuff. Just stuff you see in the desert at night. Right. I don't know. It's just too much. I can't remember.
Okay.
I'm too old.
I'll give you the old card. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm going to play the old
clearly
card.
Clearly established that you were on the earth before the dinosaurs.
Well, I was about the same time, which is why I had such kind of a fraternal sort of or maybe it was paternal, I'm not sure which. Some kind of nocturnal, something relationship with
something.
Them. Yes, well, we were out there with the dinosaurs, out there in the desert looking at the dinosaurs all the time.
That's good.
Yes. Explains quite a lot, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
All that radiation and everything. Yes.
Yeah, clearly. So, I mean, you were out there, you're having these deep philosophical conversations, you're kind of opening your mind, expanding your consciousness, and then, you're almost putting yourself in a meditative state.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then
what?
Well,
then I'd oh God, I don't know. You can imaginate, using my word, and I did. You can imagine that you were in just slightly one dimension over. If you could just imagine, for example, I'm just giving you an example here. I'm not saying this happened. I'm just saying this is, you could imagine, and I imagine stuff like this, that you could take a step to the right, or you could move the dial. If you're using an old radio dial, you could dial your brain, and you're going to, now I'm going to go over from FM, 101.5, whatever, and I'm over here suddenly, and where I was looking a minute ago in that very same space, but in a different, dimension, or time-space dimension, all of a sudden there might be a spaceport there. Something other is actually occupying that same space, but in a different dimension, right? So you can visualize stuff like that. So I don't know, being that I'm naturally, natively, intrinsically fanciful, whether or not I'm, imaginating that, whether I'm making that up, or whether I'm tuning to that.
Right.
I don't know, what exactly the relationship, but I can tune that in or imaginate that in such detail that I can sense it, I can smell it, I can feel the air ripple on I can get sensory input from that imagination or that image. And I use the word imaginate because it's an image. It starts out as an image. So everything that you create starts out as an image. And then I was going to say you ate, but you create from there. There's steps. And people do it all the time. So anyway, it's like that.
So, and you felt, you developed a way to kind of help yourself kind of move into that state.
Well, basically the way to do it is you just practice at it. It's like your brain is like a muscle, and people's muscles are pretty flabby, especially in America. We got flabby brains
wow.
here. It's like I hate to say that, but our brains have gotten really flabby here, and I'm very sad to say that, but we've got flabby brains here. I did this with your sisters, your 3 other sisters. When they were in grade school, I took all of their television sets away. This was before all these handheld devices and before iPhones and all that. So I did the horrible, unspeakable thing. I took the televisions away. I banished all televisions from the house. I did that.
That wouldn't have worked for me because I was too busy watching Fantasy Island and Love Boat.
Yeah,
that would not have been good.
Yeah, well, it didn't happen in the house that I was running, this horrible concentration camp that I was running. We didn't have that. What I did is I said, okay, that's it. So for the entire time that the other 3 daughters were in grade school, there was no television in my house. And my father-in-law, who was actually a kind of a putz, pardon the technical terminology, but anyway, he was just absolutely appalled at the idea that I could deprive my poor little daughters of this of a television set. And I said, there's just no way I'm going to allow that garbage into my house. It's like I don't want my kids to turn into zombies. So what I did is instead I said, okay, what you're going to do is we're going to get books from the library. Library. Some of you might have to look that up. It's probably there on Google.
That's spicy, Dad.
I'm just kidding. But so what we did is we had stacks and stacks of books everywhere. Everybody was looking up books. So what happened as a result is that my kids were working out all the time. Their brains were working out. So all their little friends would come over, and they'd come over by the droves. And the first thing they come in, where's your TV set? Well, we don't have one. But then all of my little kids would they'd be imagining this and imagining that, and they'd have all these little scenarios mocked up, and they'd have all these little plays mocked up, and they'd be creating like mad, and they're all still creating like mad, and they're not prisoners to their minds have developed properly without all of that garbage in it, and they're not addicted to it. Unfortunately, my grandkids are becoming addicted to the whole bloody thing, so I guess it's a losing battle, but
and that's great. Because we're just so.
But the concept is you don't talk to your hand before you talk to your brain. It's like it doesn't go to the hand and then to the brain. It goes to the brain.
Well, but you did though. You came up with something that. Yeah.
Well, so basically, what my book was about, what this is about, the whole thing is like. Because there's no when my feet hit the floor in the morning, I'm not sure where I'm going. I have to make it up. I have to invent where I'm going. So since where I'm going is constantly I'm constantly making mistakes because everywhere I'm going is trial and error, right? I'm inventing as I go, so I make a gazillion mistakes. So if you want to make no mistakes, then just staple yourself to the floor and go just do what somebody else tells you to do, and you can live your whole life without mistakes. Except for the big mistake is that you didn't have a life. But other than that mistake, you can have no mistakes. But I make lots of mistakes, but I try to learn from it. So this is kind of like a gigantic mistake manual. I was trying to figure out a way. What's the process? How does this work? Because when they slapped me on the keister when I came out of my mother, they didn't hand me an operator's manual. And I thought, it'd be nice to have an operator's manual so I can, maybe not repeat the same mistakes over and over again. So it's sort of like, marking the walls as you're, descending into a cave that nobody's ever been in. And so So I created this system. I've been working on it for 30 years, and I've put it together, and I've put little test editions out, and I've had various people look at it, psychologists and psychiatrists and educators and, lawyers and this and that. And, they've all got, oh, yeah, that's exactly right. That's what we do. I went, okay, good. So on the right track. So, it's the process. And like I said, it applies to everything from doing a painting to launching an invasion. You could organize an invasion of another galaxy. It's just the process of creation. Everybody does it. Every single person does it, and it's very other dimensional. It's very paranormal, because it starts outside of the physical universe. It starts out in your own personal universe, and you're bringing it, in some haphazard way. You're bringing it into physical existence, and it either gets into physical existence so other people can see it, or it doesn't. And that's pretty much what everybody's doing all the time, and have been doing ever since there have been people on this mud ball.
And so you did, though. I mean, you came up with something that would allow maybe you to really tap in.
Yeah. Well, so by
other than the book.
Well, it's the process of when I'm painting, I'm not just painting. And when I'm doing what you're alluding to here, I'm not just doing that. I'm not just doing anything that I'm apparently just doing. I'm always doing, I'm kind of layered, right?
Right.
It's like I'm always doing more than, I'm like observing what it is I'm doing too, so I can learn from it, try to figure out, I'm just trying to see whatever it is I'm doing in a broader context than just the physical thing that I'm doing or the physical body is doing in any given moment. You follow what I'm saying?
Yep.
Okay, so anyway, I'm just kind of looking at a lot of different things all the way across the spectrum, and I'm looking in more than one dimension sometimes at the same time. And it's just something you sort of train your mind to do. It's sort of like probably the best way to look at this. My little brother is like an outfitter. He's this master hunter, and he can go out and spot a group of elk, whatever you call them. I'd be appalled at me saying that, but anyway, several elk on a mountain ridge 10 miles away. And I can't see a thing. I have no idea what he's looking at. And all of a sudden, hey, there's a bunch of elk up there, a whole string of them. I'm going, what? Say what? I can't see it. He sees it. I can't see it. His eyes are attuned to seeing that. He's used to looking for that. He looks at that. Okay, so when I'm doing a painting, I see stuff in an image that most people don't see. And because I can see it, I can paint it. And so when you look at my paintings, you're seeing I'm putting there what I see so you can see it. So it's there to be found. So in the seeing and in the putting, I'm discovering, while I'm doing the seeing and the putting, I'm thinking about what it is I'm doing, and I'm analyzing it, and I'm realizing stuff like, well, gee, I'm creating, I'm using time, my time, to create three-dimensional space on a two-dimensional surface.
Right.
And I'm literally doing that. I'm doing that metaphysically or metaphorically and metaphysically, and I'm also doing it literally because I'm creating these real thin layers of oil with embedded pigment.
Right.
So there's very thin layers of paint. I'm building it up layer after layer after layer with glazes. So I'm literally building a very thin, compressed, space. And so it's like if you take a rock, just any rock out of your garden, and you get it wet, all of a sudden all these amazing colors come out of it. And that's what happens. I found when I was out in nature, living in it, that the desert, when it gets wet, all of a sudden these astonishing colors come out of it. And there's all these astonishing relationships. And normal artists, when I say normal, I mean they're not brain damaged like I am, having been in the radiation for all this time.
Well, and the paint.
And the paint, smelling the paint, the turpentine.
Using paints from...
from the the radioactive paint from the 1960s. Yeah, I still got some of that. But anyway, so, I just had a train of practice.
Well, no, but I mean, you're talking about the creative process and how that really opens your mind to being able to see things that most people wouldn't be able to see. And I think when you look at it in the world of ufology and all of this, I mean, or the paranormal, it would appear that people that are artistic are much more open and receptive to having paranormal experiences.
Yeah, well, it's an aperture. It's like let's see, how would you look at it? It'd be like sort of like an aperture. It's like you have the ability to open up an aperture and let in this other stuff, this other experience. Most people simply can't see it. They're so, I hate to use this, but I probably shouldn't use it. There's a word we used to use in the military all the time that drives some people nuts when I use it. I better not use it.
Okay. Well, that was kind of a teaser.
Well, I guess.
Build me up and then you bring me back down.
All right. The word is puckered.
Okay.
Okay. Well, so that puts a great picture in your head, but that's we used to use that in the military all the time. Anyway, that's a great, so that with that comes great visuals. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so people get their viewpoint that way. And you've got to just kind of release and relax and just kind of, and you're expanding and contracting and you're moving your viewpoint around. You've got to be able to move your viewpoint. Right. So just a little quick artistic thing here. If you're going to try to do a portrait, for example, amateur painters always have problems because they can't get the nose right or this or that right. And it's because they keep moving their head, right? So they find they have more luck working from a photograph because it's fixed. It's stopped moving. It's not moving. So you're looking at some of the early inventions that like Da Vinci and some of these guys are using. They use the things that, to stop, the movement. What you're doing is trying to fix the viewpoint in a specific place so you can, I am standing here from this viewpoint. The nose looks like this.
Right. And we've got to take a break. I can hear that music. I am Eric Lukes here with my father, our Geoffrey Blackburn, who is an amazing artist, world-renowned, and we are having deep discussions. I look forward to the last segment of the show. We'll be right back.
Stand by.
This is UFO Classified with Erica Lukes.
Erica Lukes.
The phone lines are open now at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. More UFO Classified.
UFO Classified.
With Erica Lukes on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. After this.
Are you ready? Ready to go inside the Matrix? Inside the Matrix.
You see, whoever controls technology controls the world.
Then tune in Sundays at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, as your host, Jimmy Brent, takes you deep inside the holographic Matrix.
Carefully designed to stimulate the mind.
Come explore a world of topics from technology, archaeology, spirituality, and so much more. Inside the Matrix will liberate you from the manipulated, parasitic entities of consciousness.
You guys ready for this?
It's time to claim your true natures as creative, divine beings inside the Matrix. Hosted by Jimmy Brent.
Who are we talking about?
Jimmy Brent. Live Sundays at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. Exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Inside the Matrix. Investigating and analyzing the experience of life. Life.
Vegas, baby!
Vegas' #1 source for talk and new music.
How cool is that?
There is a world outside that which we live in. A realm where fact and fiction collide. The Paradigm Matrix.
The Paradigm Matrix.
Hosted by Willie Miranda. Every Friday night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern.
The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us, even now in this very room.
The 1-hour show that will surely leave you hanging on the edge of the rabbit hole.
The Paradigm Matrix
explores a universe of topics from UFOs, cryptozoology, conspiracies, as well as all things paranormal.
Enter a world of the twisted and deformed.
Friday night, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. The Paradigm Matrix. Exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network, where fact and fiction collide.
30 seconds and counting.
Broadcasting to you from another planet, beaming you a world of entertainment.
This is the world-famous KCOR. Now listen live online at KCORradio.com.
I like everything about this station.
When do I listen? Like 24 hours a day.
It's my favorite station. I just love the music.
It keeps me going at work.
Alien Deceptions, a suspenseful sci-fi romance thriller by Tina Marie, featuring the tantalizing Erica Jones and the mysterious Russell Hamilton. An out-of-this-world book of fiction based on years of document facts and files the government does not want you to know about, at least not yet. Alien Deceptions by Tina Marie. Available now at Amazon.com or get a signed copy at TinaMarieEntertainment.com. Get your copy now.
1, 2, 3, 4!
To the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Love the music. Oh, I listen all day.
The future of radio is here and now.
You're listening to
UFO Classified with Erica Lukes, where the truth isn't hidden beneath the black lines of a Sharpie.
That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
To be on with Erica, call 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio.
Radio contact.
Share your thoughts on the show on Twitter by using hashtag KCOR. Or head over to the live chats at KCORradio.com.
The audience goes nuts.
And now, your host of UFO Classified.
Are you ready?
Erica Lukes.
It is always with great sorrow that I end the last segment for the evening because I could keep talking, and I love having conversations with the people that I bring on my show. Every week I feel the show gets better and there's more information to put out there. And if you really follow my work and you go back from the first show I did and you listen to the way I've developed as a researcher, and you also understand that my methodology, it is very deliberate, that I bring on everybody I bring on. And there are bits of information that you're getting in each of these shows. And if you're asleep at the wheel and you're not paying attention, you won't get it. But luckily for me, most of my listeners are smart enough that they get it. And so I'm excited to have my father here tonight because he is giving you a bit of insight into me, and also he's sharing with us some of his thoughts and his artwork, his creative process. And we could sit there and say, well, if you tune in, the show isn't about UFOs. It's much deeper than that. And for me, when I am visiting a place that is, and I've done research all over the world, field research all over the world, it isn't just about UFOs. There's a much deeper agenda, and I think people who research the topic and research the subject, who actually get out and do field research, understand there's much more than just a black and white box that you put this in. And so everything that my father has said tonight is very important with regard to all of that.
Let me make a point, may I?
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, it's not just objects, unidentified flying objects. It's not just objects. It's like we're talking beings and that are capable of manifesting themselves without having to move, inside of an object. So if you're thinking objects, you're thinking too small. So think dimensions, think dimensional movement, multidimensional movement. Then you're thinking in a scale that's a little bit more interesting.
And so, talk a little bit more about that.
Well, this is where PBS had a really interesting thing that was sent to me about quantum mechanics. It's fascinating, absolutely fascinating entanglement, and I don't pretend to be any kind of an expert on it at all. I'd probably embarrass myself. But the whole thing is absolutely fascinating. Apparently, all of these modern devices we're using are using these very strange things that happen as a result of entanglement, quantum entanglement. I recommend that your listeners look into that. There's look for the YouTube videos on the subject. PBS did one that's just fantastic, and it's just like, wow. It's like then you start thinking about UFOs in terms of you think in terms of dimensions, you think in terms of beings moving between dimensions. So you're thinking on a much bigger scale than just thinking about somebody in a green ship landing in a cow pasture and getting out and probing your parts. I mean that's pretty small potatoes compared to what I'm looking at.
Right.
It's like it's like think bigger, think way, way, way bigger is what I would strongly recommend if you guys are going to get. Being serious about this, really looking out and really, really looking out is a much bigger proposition than just the farmer's pasture and a cow with a probe. I mean, it's. This is a huge, huge thing to look at.
Well, and I found, when I was, through my process publicly and getting involved with certain researchers, or whatever, investigators, it's like a lot of people are so busy sitting behind a keyboard and they're not willing. It's like they've got to look at something and, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's a duck. And it's like, what? And there's a reason that these people have never had experiences because they're so closed off they wouldn't know what it was if it hit them in the rear end. And so there's something, as Chris O'Brien knows, I know he's listening and he's been on the show, and we've had in-depth conversations about this. This isn't black and white. There are so many more things that we need to bring into this area of discussion, and a lot of people don't, and I think that's why perhaps this subject will never move forward. But that is my little thought.
Go ahead.
No. So with your book, you have been working on this book for how long now?
Well, the first version of it came out in 84, 85. So I just keep revising it, but I put it out in little tiny test editions just to sort of probe the environment, just to see, I'll put it out to a small group of people just to see what they think. And now I'm getting ready to put it out in a large way. So we'll see. It is what it is.
Well, and so what is the title? What is the...
Well, the title is called How the Creator's Handbook. Basically lays out the entire algorithms of creation, how you take something from what I call Universe 1, which is your personal universe, which has various properties, and then bring it into the physical universe, which is, the physical universe is the one that I'm talking to you through right now. So your little hairs in your ears are vibrating as I'm speaking. I'm talking to you through the physical universe. But the thoughts are forming in my personal universe. And it's that process that I've studied and looked at for 40 years and analyzed and broken down, and that's what I've put into this book. And it's lots of pictures.
But it was so much fun to come over to your place and to look at. You've got each page, on the wall. And you're looking at not only is the content great, but it's like where the picture placement is, how many words are in a particular line. It just all of this. So you're not only getting the content, but you're getting this incredible visual package of everything. It really is. I don't know of another author who actually does what you do.
Well, it's all part of being the emperor of the anal retentoids, which is an alien group that comes from never mind. Never mind where we come from. But anyway, no, it's. I don't know. I just spent my whole life, like I said, when I'm mowing the lawn when I was a little kid, and I would be out mowing the lawn, I was never just mowing the lawn. I was always processing, trying to figure out what's the most efficient pattern for mowing the lawn. It's like that's just the way that's just my intrinsic, the way my weird brain works. Is I'm always trying to figure out, what's behind what it is that I'm doing. Is there a more efficient way of doing it? I mean, I just think that way for some mysterious reason, and I've been thinking that way. Even when I was in the military, I was trying to figure out, well, how does this relate to painting? Is there any way that writing a poem could possibly relate to trying to figure out how to take that machine gun up the hill? I mean, is there any possibility that there could be any possible relationship between those two ridiculously different things? And I found that, in point of fact, I actually found the relationship. And it's brain dead simple. Everybody does it. And it's just kind of laying it out there. When you see it, you kind of go, oh, duh. And it's like, yeah, you're doing it. Well, I find myself having to refer back to my own book, and whenever I screw up, which is frequently because I'm constantly doing new stuff, it's when I fail to go back and look at my own book before I go off and do something. I go, yeah, dummy, you forgot to look at that. It's like I'm writing this for me, and I'm sharing it with you. It's kind of where I'm coming from with this. And so I'm just smoothing it up. So I try to, go back there. In fact, I even got one sitting in the John. So I'm sitting there. Yeah, remind yourself to read it before you go off and do X. I mean, read this. Remind yourself, because this is like your own best advice to yourself. After all these years, 50 years of experience or 70 years of experience, this is my best advice to me. All the stuff I've learned from making all these stupid mistakes, but observing and really digging deeply into things. Because, boy, I've made a lot of mistakes, and I'm sure I'm going to make a lot more before I check out.
But you've also, you've broken ground and done things nobody else has done, and
that's how you do it. That's how you do
right.
it. That's the secret to it. There is no secret.
And so, how important is the metaphysical realm in your life?
How important is it?
It seems like you've incorporated.
It's totally important because think about it. It's sort of like the spiritual skeleton upon which everything lays. It's sort of like, okay, just consider this. This was a new thought that was introduced to me by this doctor that I'm talking to, and she introduced this mind-blowing concept to me that just blew me right out of my socks. We were talking about how an atom is set up, and you got electrons and protons whizzing around a nucleus, right? And between all that activity, there's space between all those particles. And she points out to me that space is consciousness, a whole new concept. It never even occurred to me that might possibly be true. That in all those ruminations, all these discussions I had with my friends back in the 70s, that was never discussed. That was never considered. And as soon as she said that, it was like getting smacked in the head with a 2x4. It's like, whoa. And if you start thinking in terms of that the space between all those little particles might be possibly consciousness, and you think, what flows from that? And if you start thinking about multi-dimensions and the possibility of multiple you versions of yourself going across dimensions, and then you think about consciousness and what is consciousness and who is consciousness, what does consciousness do, things like that, then you start thinking, interesting stuff. Really, really interesting stuff starts. And it all applies to art. It all applies to everything you do. It's all the same thing.
And so what would you say, if you've had different paranormal experiences in your life, or profound moments.
Boy, have I ever.
And so what would be, I know, and for me, some of the experiences that I've had are very personal and they will never be shared in a public forum, but are there any experiences that you've had that you would share?
Oh, God. Trying to think of what, I'm not sure exactly how to.
Well, you don't have to, because I know that they're personal.
Well,
but
I've had a lot of different, very strange experiences. One thing I can tell you is sometimes when you're in one of these experiences, you got to kind of hold on and just hold on to the fact that hold on to who you are, and that you're going to come out the other end of it.
So in a way, if you had one of these experiences, does it kind of rip you to shreds and then build you back up?
Absolutely. It's sort of what it's like. It's like an event horizon. It's like, in fact, this is one of the ways that you can actually grow. This is the way you can become a master at something. I'm actually going to do some maybe a video on this at some point when I finish the book. How you actually blow through your barriers. It's really quite a remarkable process. It's a very unpleasant process. It's like birth. I mean, birth is I've never actually given birth to anything. Well, actually, I have. I'm giving birth to this thing now. It's like giving birth to a planet, and I don't have planet-bearing hips. I can tell you that. But anyway, it's a painful experience. Anyway, so I could actually show you. If this was like a video, I could easily show you this thing. It's like an event horizon. It's like you're pushing yourself through this thing, and you're making yourself. It's like you're making yourself tinier and tinier and tinier in a way. It's like what I seem to be doing when I'm painting, but what I'm really doing is I'm creating space. It's like it looks like I'm getting tinier and tinier, but what I'm doing is I'm creating more and more space behind where I'm painting. So it's like almost like an inversion of what it is I appear to be doing. It's like, I could show you easily. It's an easy picture to show you. Well, okay, here's a way to look at it. Okay, I became aware of this when I was 17. I was writing sonnets. How much time do we have?
We have about 8 minutes.
Okay, so here's a way to look at this. And this, in fact, this is something you can take away from this. I got into poetry when I was in high school, and so I was writing a lot of sonnets, which is a difficult Shakespearean sonnets that I specialized in. Anyway, it's a difficult art form to manage, a poetry form, and it's very disciplined. So when I first started to write them, I was it's terrible, like everybody is when they start writing that, and you think, well, how can I get these words to fit in this this iambic pentameter and these rhyming couplets and blah blah blah, and so it's very very hard to do, and you just keep working it, and little by little, week after week, I kept working it because I'm nothing if not patient. And then finally, little by little, it started to yield to me, and these sentences, these lines, these poetic lines, started to flow together. And pretty soon they were just flowing out of me. And I started to think in iambic pentameter. And pretty soon you couldn't tell where the lines ended, and they just flowed together. And eventually I ended up writing a play that was produced on television, and it was believe this or not, it was an existential play written, choreographed for modern dance. It was produced on television, and it ended up in the textbooks that they used all over the country. It was all the dialogue was written in Shakespearean sonnets. That's how fluid I got in sonnets. But what happened is I pushed myself through this little tiny hole, this very, very ever-tightening hole of how restricted this language was. And then when I finally got all the way to the point of this, what I call the event horizon, I came out the other end of this hole and all of a sudden discovered that this huge horizon awaited at the other side of this. And I was looking at this completely new horizon that was just limitless, and it opened up the other direction. And I went, wow, if I hadn't just pushed to discipline myself to get down into that little hole, I never could have popped out the other side and seen how wide and vast the other side was. And time again, I've learned that. I learned it in the Army. The Army is really good at teaching you that about yourself. They teach you that in a physical way, in a lot of different ways, and they bond you to other men that way, other people that way, so you can fight as a unit. But they also they teach you about yourself that way. But you can take that experience, and I take that poetry experience, and I've had several experiences with my art where I pushed myself through that event horizon, and you open up these amazing vistas of knowledge and wisdom by pushing yourself through that. And most people don't do it. They I can't do it, it's too hard. Well, yeah, it's hard. There's no doubt about it, it's hard. But if you push yourself all the way through it, I mean, sometimes you feel like going crazy. Sometimes I have gone kind of crazy. One time I got so pissed off at this painting I was working on, I got up and I was smoking a pipe at the time. I got up and took my pipe and threw my pipe right through the painting.
That's never the way to go, but I suppose it happens when you have an artistic temper.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like, after months chasing this one little thing around, I couldn't get it to work, and then I had a big tantrum. At the end of it, the lesson was, you dummy. Then I had to spend, a week trying to clean up the mess I made. And I thought, well, what did you learn there, dummy?
Oh, Father.
Yeah, it's like, wait a minute, maybe doing that. If you're gonna have a tantrum, go hit a wall or go for a walk or go do something else. But
it sounds like you go through this creative process, and it's like you're on a shamanic journey. I mean, you are it's like you're standing out there with all of the elements, and you are invoking something and going through that process where whatever this is just strips you down and spits you back out.
Yeah,
and you
exactly.
Reinvent yourself.
That's what it is.
Hopefully.
That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. So. Yeah, that's kind of. I guess that's sort of E.T. I guess that's more than E.T. You're going into yourself, or actually, I'd say you're actually going out of yourself, and it's very spiritual, and it's very beyond physical. That's why I say when you think about green guys and flying saucers, I mean it's like I think other intelligences, other beings are maybe other versions of ourselves. Moving through time, moving through dimensions,
right?
And I think there's a lot of different. I'm a big Star Trek guy, so I love that kind of stuff.
I do like Shatner.
Yeah, I eat that stuff up. So I'm totally on board with all that. But I think there's this whole other thing happening here that's just off the hook. Interesting.
Absolutely. And I think that the thing that's been interesting for me is to see that, it's like in ufology or whatever we want to call it, it's all about ETs and, the tall whites and the benevolent space brothers. And it's like, okay, first of all, when did that narrative get inserted into all of this? Do we really know that? And are we limiting ourselves to say that everything that takes place around us is extraterrestrial? I think that's pretty short-sighted, to be honest, because there are so many things. At the end of the day, we have no freaking clue. That was profound. My comment, I think you were so stupefied, you just had to think about that for a minute.
Yes, yes, old synapses just don't fire like they used to. They fire about every 20 minutes, and it's sort of like one of those satellites that comes around and blinks, and that's about how often my synapses fire these days. Yeah. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. And one final note: I always. This is one of the last lines of my book. I always reserve the right to be smarter tomorrow than I am today.
I like it. That's good.
Yeah, well, one of my favorite authors wrote that. That would be me.
Oh, dear.
One of the most modest people you'd ever want to meet, too.
Oh, well, every once in a while, the ego of an artist, it happens.
Yes, I take myself very seriously. You can tell that.
But at the end of the day, you've lived an incredible life, and you've had experiences that most people will never have. And you've been out there, and you've tuned your dial a little far to the left or a little to the right, and you've experienced things, and that shows in your art, especially when you go back over time and look at the way your art and your style and what you've painted has changed, which I think is always fascinating to see. But you've also been working on your ideas, and you understand that there's something much more profound interacting with us.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Sure, absolutely. Also remember that I also created some businesses, and I do businesses, and I've got all different kinds of stuff going on. So, it's not just this. It's like you work in all different mediums. This is, if you understand these other issues, or you start looking into these other issues, it just adds fabric and, it adds texture to everything else you're doing. Just, it makes everything so much more interesting.
But do you, at the end of the day, though, you feel that something or different things have interacted with you and propelled you pushed you on a path? Sure,
absolutely. I have a really strong magnetic north that's getting stronger and stronger. That's what I call it, magnetic north. There's a reason why I call it that, which I don't have time to explain. But yeah, definitely, I was set on this path for long. I think it was about when I was a junior in high school in 1964. I can even point to the event. I remember where I was when I started walking down this road, and I'm definitely on a path, and I'm definitely there's definitely stuff happening here that's beyond just turn on the lights and there you are. There's all kinds of interesting things happening on all different kinds of levels. So the whole thing's an amazing experience. And it's multidimensional. There's more than one thing going on. I'm quite convinced of it.
Well, I will tell you, I'm convinced of it too. And we should go out camping and sit on the hood of a car and
forget the camping. There are bugs out there.
Oh,
I've been there. I did that.
Oh God!
See,
that's for me.
Well, see if you can. This was nice about virtual camping. See, when you get to be old, then you like the mechanical dogs.
Grandpa Moses.
Yeah, they see the mechanical dogs. They don't shed. They don't. They don't leave deposits.
Where's your sense of adventure?
Out in the desert, where I spent 20 years out there screwing around with
okay. Well, I'll talk you into that. I'll call you at 10 o'clock at night and force you into camping.
Yeah, see, adventure is what you do when you're young. What I did when I was young.
Well, you're not that old. I mean,
you got to look at it. You're not seeing what I'm seeing in the mirror in the morning. I'm looking in there and seeing my grandfather leering out at me, and I didn't particularly like him.
Perhaps you should get ready in the dark. It's probably a better option.
Yeah, that's probably true too.
Yeah,
Maybe.
Anyway, thank you, Dad, for being here. My father, our Geoffrey Blackburn. You can check his website out, check his beautiful art out, and then I will keep you posted on his book and when that will be making its debut. Thank you all for being here. This is a wonderful show I will listen to many, many times and pick up more and more about the conversation. Stick around for a great night. Willie Miranda is up next with Solaris Blue Raven. So you got to check that out. Have a wonderful and safe weekend, and I'll catch you next week.
Listen very carefully.
This is Houston. Say again, please. Houston, we've had a problem.
This is UFO Classified, live every Friday night, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The truth is out there, just waiting to be discovered.
And now, if you will, accompany me on a journey to the future.
For more information on the host of UFO Classified, Erica Lukes, upcoming guests, as well as links to the past shows,
visit her website at ufoclassified.com.
UFO Classified.
UFO Classified. UFO Classified.
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south